Have you ever wondered why China once killed 20 million sparrows? A question that might seem absurd, but holds a tragic tale of misguided ambition and ecological catastrophe. Our journey begins in the late 50s, when China, under the leadership of Chairman Mao Zedong, launched a nationwide initiative known as the Pests campaign. This campaign was not aimed at foreign invaders or political dissidents, but rather the seemingly insignificant creatures of rats, flies, mosquitoes and sparrows. Now, you might be wondering, why sparrows? What harm could these small, unassuming birds possibly inflict on a nation? The answer, according to Chairman Mao, lay in the fields of grain. Sparrows, he claimed, were consuming an excessive amount of China's valuable grain supply. In the eyes of the chairman, these birds were not just pests, but enemies of the state, thieves stealing from the mouth of a growing nation. The solution, therefore, was simple and brutal: eradicate the sparrows. Citizens were encouraged to join the fight, turning this campaign into a nationwide movement. From the bustling cities to the rural countrysides, people rallied to the call, embarking on a relentless crusade against these feathered foes. But as we'll soon discover, the war on sparrows was not merely a battle against a perceived pest. It was an assault against the delicate balance of nature, a balance that, once disrupted, would have far-reaching implications. In our upcoming scenes, we'll delve deeper into this war against sparrows, the devastating consequences that followed, and the lessons learned from this ecological misstep. But for now, let's pause and reflect on the inception of this campaign, born from a desire for agricultural prosperity, yet destined to create a ripple of chaos in the intricate web of life. Little did they know, this campaign would result in an ecological disaster, a stark reminder that our actions, no matter how well-intentioned, can have unforeseen and sometimes tragic consequences. The Chinese people, rallied by the government, declared war on the sparrows. It was an unusual war, one that saw no tanks, no guns, no soldiers on the battlefield. Instead, this war was fought with common household items, the most primitive of weapons, and an undying spirit. The battle plan was simple, yet effective. The aim was to rid the land of these small birds that were seen as the enemy of the people, the thieves who stole their grain. The methods employed were as ingenious as they were brutal. People across the country, young and old alike, engaged in a relentless pursuit of the sparrows. They banged pots and pans, creating a cacophony that would scare away the birds. The noise was deafening, a symphony of war echoing across the vast expanse of China. The people were determined, they were relentless, they would not rest until their enemy was defeated. But noise was not their only weapon. The people used more direct methods too. They took to the fields with slingshots and sticks, shooting down the sparrows from the skies. It was a sight to behold, the sky filled with falling birds, a testament to the might of a united people. And if that wasn't enough, they also took to destroying the nests of the sparrows. Every nest found was a victory. Every egg destroyed was a step closer to winning the war. The people left no stone unturned. They searched high and low, determined to rid their land of the sparrows. The enthusiasm with which the people participated in the campaign was extraordinary. It was more than just a government directive. It was a movement, a crusade. The people believed they were fighting for their survival, their livelihoods. They fought with a fervor, a passion that could only be fueled by such belief. The sparrows were nearly driven to extinction, but no one foresaw the consequences that would follow. The war may have been won, but the battle was far from over. The people had defeated their enemy, but in doing so, they had unknowingly set in motion a chain of events that would lead to unimaginable consequences. With the sparrows nearly extinct, an ecological imbalance emerged. The delicate equilibrium of nature was disrupted, and the consequences were dire. Sparrows, you see, were not merely chirping bystanders in China's ecosystem. They were a crucial part of a complex web of life, a web that began to unravel with their disappearance. The sparrows had been the natural predators of many insects, among them locusts and other crop-eating pests. With the sparrows gone, these insects found themselves without a natural check on their numbers. Their population skyrocketed. Fields that were once lush with grain were now swarming with insects, feasting unabated on the crops. This surge of crop-eating pests resulted in a significant drop in agricultural yield. Crops were devastated, leaving fields barren where there should have been an abundance of grain. This had a profound impact on China's food supply. With fewer crops, there was less food to go around, and this scarcity was felt across the country. The food shortages were not just a problem for the people. Livestock also suffered. With less grain available, it became increasingly difficult to feed the animals. Many livestock died, further exacerbating the food crisis. The country's grain stores dwindled, the people were hungry, and there was no relief in sight. The food shortages became more severe and people began to starve. It was a crisis of immense proportions, one that was felt by every single person in China. The absence of sparrows had set off a chain of events that led to one of the most severe famines in history. It was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of all life on Earth and the consequences of disrupting the delicate balance of nature. This ecological imbalance was the beginning of the Great Chinese Famine. It was a time of great suffering, a time when the people of China were forced to confront the consequences of their actions. The decision to eradicate the sparrows had been made with the best of intentions, but the unforeseen consequences were devastating. The Great Chinese Famine, lasting from 1959 to 1961, was a direct consequence of the Great Sparrow Campaign. In the wake of the sparrow eradication, nature's delicate balance was thrown into disarray. Without the sparrows to keep them in check, locust populations exploded, ravaging crop fields and leaving a trail of devastation. This led to a food shortage of unimaginable proportions, pushing China into a famine that would last for 3 harrowing years. The severity of this famine is difficult to truly comprehend. An estimated 15 to 45 million lives were tragically lost, making it one of the deadliest famines in the annals of human history. To put it into perspective, the death toll was equivalent to the entire population of modern-day Spain, or nearly 7 times the population of Australia. In the throes of the famine, the Chinese people faced unimaginable hardships. Food was so scarce that people resorted to eating tree bark, and in some instances there were even reports of cannibalism. The famine was not just a time of physical suffering, but also one of moral crisis and emotional torment. As the famine raged on, the government began to understand the crucial role that sparrows played in the ecosystem. They recognized that sparrows were not just pests, but an essential part of the food chain, serving as a natural pest control by feeding on insects that destroyed crops. It was a harsh lesson learned about the complex interdependencies of nature and the catastrophic consequences that can ensue when humans meddle with it. In a cruel twist of irony, the sparrows that were once considered pests were now seen as saviors. The government eventually revised the 4 Pests campaign, removing sparrows from the list and replacing them with bedbugs. And so sparrows were replaced by bedbugs in the 4 Pests campaign. This marked the end of the war against sparrows, but the memory of the Great Chinese Famine, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of ecological imbalance, continues to echo through the pages of history. The aftermath of the Great Sparrow Campaign serves as a stark reminder of the importance of ecological balance. In the wake of the campaign's devastating effects, China had to look abroad for a solution to restore its ecological equilibrium. The Soviet Union, in a gesture of international cooperation, sent sparrows to replenish China's decimated population. This reintroduction was not an overnight solution, it was the beginning of a long and arduous road to recovery. The sparrows, once seen as pests, were now recognized as crucial components of the ecosystem. With their return, they resumed their role as controllers of insect populations, allowing crops to flourish once more. The return of the sparrows marked the beginning of the healing process for China's landscape, a process that would take many years and a great deal of effort. The Great Sparrow Campaign left a lasting imprint on China, teaching the nation a painful lesson about the delicate balance of nature. It served as a stark illustration of the importance of biodiversity in maintaining a healthy and productive ecosystem. Biodiversity, the variety of life in a particular habitat or ecosystem, is critical for the functioning and resilience of that system. Each species, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, plays a role. Remove one, and the entire system can falter and fail. The sparrows, once seen as a threat to China's agricultural output, were in fact a vital part of the system. Their eradication led to an explosion of pests and a catastrophic famine. The story of the Great Sparrow Campaign underscores the dangers of disrupting ecological balance. The campaign, born of good intentions, had unintended and far-reaching consequences, causing immense suffering and loss. It's a cautionary tale that reminds us of the intricate web of life that connects all species. It shows us that human actions, no matter how well-intentioned, can have profound impacts on our environment. The story of the Great Sparrow Campaign is a poignant example of how human actions can have unintended and far-reaching consequences on our environment.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.